Hello, welcome to Epione Biotech. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble our surgical suturing device. So go on ahead and open up SolidWorks and choose Assembly. And then once it's open, choose IPS as your units. And then we're going to go on ahead and insert the first component, which is the half of the handle. So we're going to click this green check mark, and it's going to fix this part to the origin, as you can see by this little F right here. Now we're going to insert the other half of the handle. Go ahead and click to place it. We can drag it around a little bit. And to put these two pieces together, I'm going to go on ahead and click on this face right here. And that same face on the other piece. Right there. And I'm going to go ahead and make that face and this face coincident. Next, I'm going to make this curvature on this side of the handle and this curvature on the other side of the handle coincident as well. And then we're going to go on ahead and look at these two edges. So I'm going to click here and click here and make them coincident. As you can see, the two pieces are together and they are fully defined. So now I'm going to insert the bottom piece to the handle. I'm going to click, and so to mate these two parts, I'm going to click on mate, and I'm going to click on this top face right here, and the bottom face made by the two handle pieces, and I'm going to make them coincident. And then I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can get a better view. I'm going to click on this edge right here and this edge right here and make them coincident. And I'm going to do the same exact thing for over here to perfectly align the pieces. Make them coincident. Click on those check marks and there you go. So this is the first piece, the handle. As you can see, it is fully defined. Now we're going to go on ahead and insert our next component. Which is the rod to handle connector. We're going to go on ahead and click. So this piece right here is inserted into the handle. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to do a concentric mate. We're going to click on the outer circle of the tube and on the inner circle right there, and we're going to make sure it's concentric. And then this face right here of the part is going to be touching the piece of the handle, so we're going to do a coincident mate. And this piece is not going to be fully defined because in the end it's going to be part of our 360 rotation, so it can't be fully defined. We're now going to insert the next component, which is our outer tube. So we're going to go ahead and click there. Now I'm going to rotate this component to make it easier to assemble. As you can see, we have these two holes here and the two holes here. So we're going to do a similar mate. We're going to click on the outer circle of the connector piece. We're going to rotate this guy. We're going to click on the inner circle. I'm going to make them concentric. So see, you can move it around as long as the two holes align. Now I'm going to go ahead and rotate this guy. And we want these two holes to always stay aligned so we can put our bolts through it. So I'm going to go on ahead and click on the inner circle of the connector and then the inner part of the circle on the rod. And I'm going to make them concentric. And that way we can't move it anymore, but it still can rotate as for that 360 motion. Next, I'm going to insert the inner rod. Place it right there. I'm going to go on ahead and rotate it. We're going to make it this way, so this hole, which is closest to the edge, is going to be on the left-hand side, which is going to connect to our lateral hinge piece. So I'm going to go on ahead and move it over here, and we're going to do a similar mate strategy. So we're going to click on the outer circle and on the inner circle of the outer rod. We're going to make them concentric. And then we're going to do one more mate. We're going to mate the inner part of the circle on the inner rod and the inner part of the circle of the outer rod and make them concentric as well to align the holes. Next, we're going to insert the lateral hinge piece. I'm going to go on ahead and move this component. I'm going to mate the inner circle to the outer circle of the inner rod. And I'm going to make them concentric. So as you can see, you can move it around, but within the same circular motion. And then I'm going to click on the inner hole on the hinge piece and the inner hole of the inner rod, and I'm going to make them concentric as well. Again, you can still rotate it as for our 360 motion, which is why these guys are still going to be underdefined. Next, I'm going to insert the lateral connector piece. And I'm going to rotate the component to allow for an easier assembly. And I'm going to go on ahead and use an advanced mate. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a width mate, and this is going to place this hinge piece in this hinge piece. So I'm going to choose the outer two surfaces and then the inner two surfaces. As a width mate, I'm going to click that check mark. And then we're going to click on the inner holes under our standard mate and make them concentric. So the concentric mate made the holes aligned, while the width mate held this piece in between these two pieces with equal distance from here to here and from here to here, which will allow this hinge piece to move up and down like so. Next, I'm going to insert our attachment piece. I'm going to go on ahead and click. I'm going to rotate the piece like so. I'm going to go on ahead and use another width mate to place this piece, this bottom piece, into the slot right here. So we're going to go on ahead and do that. So we're going to go down to Advanced Mates, Width Mate. We're going to zoom in and click this inner surface and this one. Zoom in a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these so we could start over. I'm going to click the interface. And that interface, and then with tab selection we're going to click the outer face of this attachment piece and the outer face. Click that check mark. And now I'm going to make a reference plane. I'm going to click on this bottom surface right there, and I'm going to make the distance from the plane to that surface 0. I will explain why we're making this plane in just a second. We're going to extend it out a little bit. And so we're going to go back to our mates, and we're going to click right here on the bottom of our piece, and then we're going to choose to make this new plane that we've made and the face coincident. Now, instead of making the face itself and the bottom of this piece coincident, I've decided to make it with a plane because the whole point of our device is for the end piece to be detachable. Now, if we made those two coincident, we wouldn't be able to move it like so. Now I'm going to go on ahead and insert one of our fixed pieces. This is going to hold the lateral connector piece and the lateral hinge piece together. So we're going to click on Mate. I'm going to click on this outer surface right here and the inner surface of these holes. We're going to make them concentric. And then I'm going to click on this guy and drag it around. Now I want this piece to be fixed inside this hole up against this surface. So I'm going to click on the outer surface of the hinge and this inner surface right here of the piece, and I'm going to make them coincident. So as you can see, I can't pull this piece out, but I can rotate it, which is why it won't be fully defined as well. So next I'm going to begin inserting our fixed pieces that will hold all of the pieces together. I'm going to go on ahead and go to Toolbox and add it in. I'm going to choose ANSI inch, and we're going to be using bolts. Next, we're going to choose hex head and just a hex bolt, and we're going to drag and drop. Now, I want my size to be 1/4-20. I want the length to be 1.75, and I want a thread count of 0.75. So I'm going to go on ahead and click check. And then I'm just going to go on ahead and click 2 more additional times because we're going to need 3 total. And I'm going to push the escape key on my keyboard. So I'm going to go on ahead and start mating these guys. So I'm going to click on mate. I'm going to click on the outer surface of the bolt. And I'm going to choose the inner surface hole of this hinge. And I'm going to make them concentric. So now we have this bolt concentric to the hole, but as you can see, it's not fixed in place. So as you can see, this piece right here is concentric, but it can still move in and out. So we need to fix it into place. So we're going to go on ahead and go to our Design Library toolbox and click on nuts. We're going to want hex nuts and then hex nut. You're going to go on ahead and drag that in. And then we want a 1/4 to 20 and go on ahead and click that check mark. Again, we're going to want 3 total. So I'm going to drag this guy over here. And what we're going to want to do is make the outside of the long piece at the inside of the circle concentric, and then we're going to pull this guy out a little bit, and we want it to be secure on there, so we're going to select this outer circle and the outer circle right here. We're going to make those guys tangent. And then we're going to select the same outer circle over here, and on this hole we'll make them tangent as well. So this is going to keep these two pieces secure in place. I'm going to do the same thing for the holes up here, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate that. I'm going to click the outer surface right there and the inner hole, make them concentric. I'm going to move this guy around. So in order to put this guy and this guy in their correct place, I'm going to go on ahead and create a reference plane, and I'm going to choose a first reference using one of the planes from the outer rod. So I'm going to go on ahead and choose the top plane. As you can see, it goes directly down the center of the rod as the first reference. And the second reference, I'm going to go ahead and click this. And what I want is I want a plane that is parallel to the surface of the bolt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the offset and make it parallel versus perpendicular to the first plane. So I'm going to click that green check mark. And now, as you can see, this plane right here is tangent to the surface of the outer rod and parallel to the surface of this bolt. So the distance from here to here, the thickness of the head of the bolt, is 0.19 inches. So I'm going to go on ahead and mate the plane 2, which is already selected for us, and the top surface of the bolt, and I'm going to choose the distance between the two to be 0.19 inches. I'm going to click the check mark, and now I'm going to go on ahead and move this guy. And what I want is this circle right here and this face to be coincident. So again, the reason why we made this reference plane was to mate this top surface of this bolt to the reference plane in order to give it its correct position. And we couldn't just choose the surface of the inside of this bolt to be coincident to the cylindrical surface here because it is not flat. Now we just have to do one more. So I'm going to go on ahead and drag the third bolt. So I'm going to go on ahead and rotate this component to the position that we want it to be in. And then I'm going to mate this surface to the inner hole and make them concentric. And then I'm going to go on ahead and move it inward where we want it to be. And then, like I did with the other one, I'm going to make this reference plane that we created earlier. And I'm going to mate it to the top surface of this bolt. I'm going to choose the distance between the two to be 0.19 inches. And I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark. Next, I'm going to add the nut. So I'm going to drag it over. And we're going to choose the inner circle and the outer circular face. We're going to make them concentric. And then I'm going to drag it up a little bit to make it a little easier to mate it. I'm going to choose this outer circle right here and the face of the nut, and then make them coincident. Next, I'm going to insert the inner components to the handle. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and rotate the piece to make it easier. And so one thing that's going to help us is I'm going to go ahead and click and then right click on this piece of the handle, and I'm going to click this hide components. So it just makes it visible on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and insert some more components. I'm going to insert what's called the side dial. The top gear. And right now I'm just inserting all of these components, and this will allow assembly to be much faster. I'm going to insert the axle. And the inner gear. So first things first, I'm going to go on ahead and mate this inner gear to this inner rod attachment piece. And then this piece right here, this gear, is going to go right here on the top, and that's going to help with the 360 rotation. This gear will rotate this gear. And then this side dial will rest on this axle, which will be placed right here. So I'm going to go on ahead and show you how to do that. So first I'm going to move this component and rotate it for easier mating. Next I'm going to go on ahead and mate the inner circle of the gear to the outer circle of the rod. I'm going to go on ahead and make them concentric. And then I'm going to choose the outer face right here of the gear and the outer face of the tube. I'm going to go ahead and make them coincident. So as you can see, this gear can still rotate, but it can't move left or right. Next, I'm going to insert this top gear. So in order to do that, I'm going to go on ahead and make that first piece of the handle visible once again. So I'm going to click this show component, and I'm going to rotate this gear right here into its proper position. And I'm going to choose the outer circular surface and the inner surface here, and I'm going to go ahead and make them concentric. So as you can see, this guy can move this way and this way, but it's still concentric. Now I'm going to add one more mate, but this time it's going to be another width mate. So I'm going to go ahead and choose advanced mate, width mate, and choose the outer surface here and the outer surface here for the width selections, and then for the tab selections I'm going to choose the outer surfaces of the gear. I'm going to click that green check mark. So doing a width mate allows me to maintain this gear's position halfway in between this side of the handle and this side of the handle while still allowing it to rotate. So I'm going to click that check mark. I'm going to go on ahead and make that piece of the handle visible once again to insert this side dial. Next, I'm going to make the axle concentric to the side dial's hole. So I'm going to click that check mark. As you can see, you can move it around, but they still are connected. Next, I'm going to choose the outer surface of the axle and the surface in the handle. I'm going to make them concentric. Perfect. And then I'm going to go on ahead and use a width mate again, so that this piece right here will be halfway in between this top surface and this bottom surface to prevent any interference. So I'm going to click that top surface right here. Well, first I'm going to go down to Advanced Mates and Width Mate. And then for our width selections, I'm going to click on this top surface and this bottom surface here. And then for our top selections, I'm going to choose this face of the side dial and its neighboring face here. Click that green check mark. As you can see, this guy can rotate, but won't be moving around X and Y direction. Next, I'm going to mate the inner components to the rod itself in order to create that 360 motion. So all of these components will move according to the movement of these gears. So I'm going to go on ahead and mate the rod to handle connector piece's top plane to the inner gear top plane, and I'm going to make them coincident. Now this will allow the rod to handle connector piece to rotate along with the gear. So as you can see, these two pieces rotate together. Next, I'm going to go on ahead and do the same for the inner gear. So we're going to choose the top plane of the gear, and then we're going to go on ahead and find the inner tube and choose its top plane, and we're going to make those two planes coincident as well. So that will allow the whole fixture to move simultaneously. Next, I'm going to put a gear mate between this gear and this gear, which will allow this gear to move this gear, which will in turn move the entire rod connector piece. So we're going to go to mate. We're going to go down to mechanical mates, and we're going to choose gear. Now first, before doing such mate, we're going to go on ahead and zoom in, and I want to align the teeth of our gear so that there is no interference. So we're going to go on ahead and move them like that. And to check for interference, when you go to Evaluate, Interference Detection, and Calculate. So as you can see, there's no interference between these mates. All the interference is down here because we have not fully defined them yet. So we're going to click check and go back to our mate. Now that the teeth are not interfering, we're going to go down to our mechanical mates and choose gear mate. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom in, and we're going to click on this inner circle of the gear and this inner circle of the gear and see how they're selected, and we're going to go ahead and click that check mark. So now when we rotate this gear, they all move together. And as you can see, moving the gears moves the entire rod piece as well. So now we can go on ahead and move the handle piece to be seen. This piece right here is where our band rotates around, and it goes through this rod piece all the way up and connects onto this piece right here. So we're going to go ahead and make this handle visible once again. Next, I'm going to rotate this guy. So what we're going to want to do is, as you can see, we can drag this attachment piece, but it can also move backwards. So we're going to want to restrict that movement. So we're going to go to Mate. And we're going to go down to Advanced Mates. And we're just going to limit its movement. We're not going to fully constrain the piece. So we're going to choose this guy right here, so the dimension, and we're going to limit the distance this edge right here can move from this edge right here. So this piece right here is 1.5 inches long, so we're going to go ahead and make our maximum distance 1.5 inches. And obviously when the attachment piece is fully pushed into the slot, this distance will be 0. As you can see, the piece won't go past this back face, but we can still detach it from the piece. Last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and insert the attachment piece top. So I'm going to go up to Insert Components. I'm going to click the piece in. Next, I'm going to go ahead and rotate my component so that it is aligned how I'd like to place it on the attachment piece. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mate this side of the attachment piece top to the inner face of the attachment piece. And I'm going to make them coincident. Next, I'm going to make the inner hole of the attachment piece top concentric to the hole on the attachment piece. Now I'm going to make the face, this face highlighted right here, coincident to the attachment piece top. As you can see, the attachment piece is connected to the attachment piece top. And now we have fully assembled our device. As you can see, moving our gears fully rotates all of our components. Now this extender piece right here can be shrink or extended depending on which hole we choose to align. And in our prototype, we connect them with a cotter pin. Thank you for watching.